This week's topic is sugar alcohols. Now, two of my favourite things. I'm here with Harriet to discuss why they actually are not sugar, nor are they alcohol.
Hey Greg, thank you for having me back, and I'm really sorry for disappointing you on this topic. We are not talking about anything fun.
Let's dig deep.
All right, let's get into it.
Welcome to the Body Science Podcast, bringing you everything you need, want and should know about health, fitness, nutrition and training. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent or manage any injury, disease or other health-related condition.
Today's podcast is brought to you by the new Clean Coffee TX100. It's coffee done smarter, supercharged with brain, mood, metabolism, performance and gut-boosting ingredients. We've combined the incredibly smooth taste of Colombian single-origin coffee with MCTs, apple cider vinegar and blue ness, the ultimate stress-relieving herb. It's keto and vegan-friendly, gluten-free with no added sugars or artificial sweeteners. Enjoy hot or cold and take your coffee to the next level.
Welcome to Body Science, the house of fit, happy and healthy. With me, Instagram peach popper, Harriet Walker, dietitian. And I'm going to say you dropped your first peachy the other day and we all loved it.
Look, I'm giving it a go. I did have to see my osteopath after trying to pull a peach pop, but I'm getting better at it, and I think it really worked on my engagement as well.
Nice. Harriet, you've written a note here at the top of my notes. I meant to say how good your hair's looking today, but is that true?
Look, I called it too early, actually.
Yeah.
I regret writing that. It doesn't actually look all that great today. So.
Hey, we train.
Yeah, we train.
Look, we're cracking open a big topic today. It comes to our office a lot. It comes out in the marketplace a lot. The topic of sugar alcohols. They're used in many low-calorie products for sweetening, including our bars. The bars are made to be a low-carb style bar. We don't add sugar to products, so that's a difficult thing in itself. And we need stuff to taste good because, let's be honest, in the end, if it doesn't taste good, it doesn't hit the lips.
That's it.
So, Harriet, what's a sugar alcohol? Can you tell us?
Well, unfortunately, we're not talking about the actual fun alcohol here.
What about the fun sugar?
Not the fun sugar either, actually.
So
it's quite...
Which idiot called it sugar alcohols?
Not sure. But the reason why it's called a sugar alcohol is it is pretty much half of the chemical molecule of sugar and half of the chemical molecule of alcohol. So neither a sugar nor an alcohol, bit of both, but it doesn't have the ethanol component of alcohol. So no fun times having the low carb bars, but delicious taste.
You're talking fun times as in getting smashed?
Responsibly, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's right. I'm with a dietitian. I forgot. Yeah.
Yep.
So the chemical structure is partly both.
If you look at the chemical molecule of alcohol molecule and sugar, it's kind of like half-half smooshed together. Basically, it's classified as a carbohydrate, doesn't react the same way in the body. So
now you say it's classified as a carbohydrate, and I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Oh, really? Tell me.
Yeah, because under the food law, it's not classified as a carbohydrate.
It's a fibre.
Yeah.
There we go. Yes. No, that was a mess up of mine.
Well, that's a common misconception in the marketplace is that it is a carbohydrate because it's not.
No, because it reacts differently.
There's probably some pharmacists out there that are going to come and tell me why it is, but I'm telling you the way the Australian food regs work, it's not.
Absolutely. And the reason why it is probably better class as a fibre is because the way it reacts within the body. So sugar alcohols aren't absorbed in the same way that sugar is.
Yep.
And as a result of that, they can be more beneficial in a diet that is, calorie controlled. So
when you say you mean calorie controlled or sugar controlled?
Both, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So from a absorption and digestion perspective, sugar alcohols are absorbed in the small intestine, but incompletely. So they don't actually provide as many calories per gram as you would get in a simple sugar. Mm-hmm. So they yield, depending on the different types of sugar alcohols, they'll yield between 0 and around 3 calories per gram, as opposed to normal carbohydrates, which will yield 4 calories per gram.
Okay, nice. So why we call them polyols?
It's just a different name. So polyols. So anything with an ol on the end of it in chemistry is an alcohol.
Okay.
But I think it's just another chemical label that we can give sugar alcohols. So it's sugar alcohols or polyols. And if you're familiar with the FODMAP diet, which obviously everybody is.
I look it up every morning when I get up.
Yep, good. Tick. So the fermentable oligosaccharides, monosaccharides,
They'd be a no-no in this diet, I'm assuming.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because I think if you've ever read the warning
We've
labels,
all eaten too many protein balls or bars. You don't have to go too deep. We know what happens.
That's because the...
Good for a long-distance car trip.
Gosh, not coming with you next time. Because of the incomplete fermentation process that happens with sugar alcohols, they can cause a laxative effect. But, I mean, for people who follow a low FODMAP diet, this comes under the polyols of the FODMAP. And these can exacerbate the IBS symptoms.
Yep.
But for anybody consuming high levels of sugar alcohols, generally it's over the 50-gram mark, you can experience a laxative effect. So it's the same with chewing gums. We'll use the same thing as well.
It's in a lot of products.
It's in a lot of products.
Anything
yes.
that basically says no added sugar or low sugar is pretty well much formulated in.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's useful. It's a useful thing to have because you can get the same taste profile in a product minus the calories, and we can talk about a little bit later about the glycemic index as well, of a slightly reduced blood sugar level rise after eating a polyol as opposed to sugar.
So just tell me something, like sugar alcohols are present in many plants, like it comes from fruit and vegetables?
Yeah, you can get naturally occurring sugar alcohols as well. So that can be confusing for people, especially look on the, like sorbitol is one of them that, again, on the low FODMAP diet is reduced or avoided as a part of it. Again, that ol is what you're looking for, and that indicates it's a sugar alcohol.
So why, if you're having one of those days where you grab 2 protein bars in the servo when you're driving around, does that afternoon become like a gas event?
Yeah, that comes down to that incomplete digestion. And the same with fibres. If you have like excessive amounts of fibres, it's a fermentation process that happens in the small intestine. And as a part of fermentation, we get the release of gas, and that can lead to bloating and other untoward side effects.
So can we talk about that fermentation process, what it's actually happening in my gut? Like a lot of people will talk to me, love your bars. A lot of people ring me up and go, I can't eat more than half your bar without just breaking out in some serious gas, Greg. Probably a shitty topic to talk about, but let's be honest, people want to know the answer to this, Harriet. So have I thrown you under the bus with that one?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically the fermentation process is
that a good or bad thing? Let's start with that, like the fermentation.
Well, fermentation is fine. Like, it's a natural process.
Yep.
It happens in our gut. Actually, the bacteria in our gut is what helps that process as well. It's just a format of breaking down foods further, and we can actually extract more energy from our diet via fermentation.
So what's happening here when I've eaten 2 or 3 bars and I'm getting ready for the gasathon?
Yeah.
Because you know it's coming.
Yeah.
And if anyone is getting that effect, you're eating too much of that crap.
Yeah. Because we were up on that a little bit.
Yeah, we were up. Let's eat some real food, use it for snacks and naughty treats. What is actually happening in my gut? So the fermentation process is in overdrive?
I suppose it's a large dose of the
and it can't handle it? Is that what it is?
It's probably too much too quickly.
So yeah, it's driving faster than the fermentation process.
Yeah, well, above a certain level, so that 50 grams tends to be the critical mass for most people. It's too much to handle in that period of time, and the body is producing a lot of gas, and a result of that, we get that abdominal distension and gas production. So
people that are struggling on this bloating in under 50 grams, what type of things should they be looking at in their diet as a general all-rounder to obviously there's some issues there. Is that someone who's got some type of existing issue, or is that intolerance is just lucky you?
Look, the
I know I'm asking $1 million question without any medical.
Well, I've actually cured IBS, actually.
Yeah.
No.
I'm glad we could do it on this podcast.
It is $1 million question. Yeah. There's a lot of different factors that play into IBS. But
there's no true definition of IBS, isn't it? It's a generalisation.
It's a cluster of symptoms. So people can get different triggers. People can have different side effects from it. So it is quite a big topic. But in terms of bloating and whatnot, there is a small amount of bloating that happens that is totally natural and fine. It's just digestion. And when you look at the process of digestion, you have your first round of absorption of nutrients in your gut, and then it goes through small intestine where we get further extraction of nutrients that fermentation process. We get the production of short-chain fatty acids, which provide energy to our gut as well. And, so people, I mean, in some cases, I think we've become a little bit sensitive to bloating because it's a symptom that people like, oh, I'm bloated. It's like, well, actually a small amount of bloating is quite normal. It's when it's, there's pain involved, it's chronic, and it's playing with quality of life that becomes a problem. So a small amount of bloating is just a part of the digestive process. But above that, yes, it becomes a problem for the person.
Okay, do you want to dig a little bit deeper into the different sugar alcohols? Like there's probably about 8 or 9 of them, is that right?
Yeah, so again, we're looking for the OL suffix, so the last 2 letters of the word. So we've got xylitol, erythritol, mannitol, sorbitol,
Well, no.
malt.
No,
Oh, damn it.
Where's the toll on that?
There's no ol on that one.
Wow.
It got me. Lactitol and then maltitol.
Yep.
So basically these are just hydrogenated monosaccharides, disaccharides, and oligosaccharides. So like we said...
What's the difference between a mono and a di?
So when we look at sugar molecules, a monosaccharide is just a single molecule. A disaccharide is 2 molecules stuck together.
Okay.
So you've got monosaccharides, glucose, fructose, galactose, and then you've got disaccharides, sucrose, lactose, maltose.
Wow, was that like first year nutrition all over again?
Yeah, I had a mnemonic in my head just
Wow.
then, just so you know. But
Nice.
it worked because it's 7 years later and I still got it.
So each of these have got a relative sweetness score. And look, let's hit them one by one. Do you want to tell us what each of them are?
Yeah.
And while we're there, let's talk about what the glycemic index is on each of those two, because that's probably the big popper for a lot of people.
Yeah, cool. So when we talk about glycemic index, which is also called GI for short, basically it's a score given to a dose of carbohydrate, which indicates the rate at which it raises blood sugar levels. So if you think about something that raises your blood sugar levels quite quickly, that's going to have a high GI.
And where's high start? What number are we looking at in high?
I think it's
index?
70 and above, but I'll have to look that one up. But then we have moderate and low GI. So in essence, we would like to keep our blood sugar levels fairly regulated. All carbohydrates will have an effect on blood sugar levels, but as a general rule, it's good to keep blood sugar levels fairly even. So when we look at GI, with the sugar alcohols, we start with erythritol, which is the one that has almost 0 calories, but also quite a 0.6 relative sweetness. So I think they use sugar as the reference point for that. And the GI of erythritol is 1.
Wow.
So basically it's like a
much.
sneaky ninja of sugar.
Okay.
Doesn't actually do anything for you, but you get the sugary taste. So you can actually buy...
That's a good sweetness store, isn't it?
Yeah,
0.63,
you can actually buy erythritol in like packets from your health food store.
You often see it in chewing gum.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing with sugar alcohols is they don't have the same impact on dentition cavities as sugar does. So it doesn't affect the bacteria in your mouth to cause cavities. So that's why it's used in sort of toothpastes and chewing gums to avoid the issues with your teeth.
Nice.
Yep. So then we have the next one. It would be isomalt, the sneaky one that doesn't have the ol on the end. So it's a disaccharide. It's got a relative sweetness of 0.54 and a glycemic index of 2. So again,
another winner.
Not a big impact on the glycemic.
And this is why a lot of people with diabetes and pre-diabetes are prescribed products with these type of, for people who want that sugar. I mean, obviously you're going to say eat your colours and do all the things a dietitian does. But
look, if you think about it, it's a swap you can do without really changing too much in your diet.
Yep.
So you wouldn't really necessarily notice the difference of sugar versus a sugar alcohol. But in the swap, you get lower glycemic index, which helps with diabetic control, and then also less calories as well. So that's why it is quite a popular substitute in diabetic specialised foods.
Yeah, nice.
So then we also have, where are we up to? So mannitol, which is a monosaccharide alcohol, and it has a glycemic index of 2.
Still low again, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they're really not doing anything to your blood sugar levels. Then lactitol, which is a 3 on the glycemic index.
And sorbitol is another one of those low ones as well, around that 1 to 2, 3 mark.
Yep, sorbitol as well. And
Which ones kick a little bit? Like, what are our ones that have a?
If we're moving up the line, we've got xylitol, which is a big old 12, which
Yep.
is still very
nothing,
low.
yeah.
Yep, and
You
then,
see that in a lot of products. That's a very popular. Yeah.
Yep. And again, I think you can buy xylitol.
It's got a
off
few
the shelf.
benefits they talk about as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, I haven't actually looked too much into the health benefits of xylitol, but I will look that up.
It's because it doesn't come in an apple.
Oh, yep.
Dietitians like apples.
Well, sorbitol, yep, we've got that in there. But yeah, and so then finally we've got maltitol, which has got a GI of 35.
But a good sweetness, doesn't it? It's a nice sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost a 1-for-1 maltitol. It's got almost a 1-for-1 sweetness swap. So actually maltitol does have a slightly higher calorie content as well. I think it's a 3 calories per gram as opposed to 4. So you're actually getting like a little bit of a decrease, but you're still getting the same flavour profile.
Yep.
And it's still low GI. So anything under 55 will be considered low GI.
Yeah, okay.
So 35 is still like quite low.
What's a piece of white bread?
I think that's up to the 100.
There you go. That's why it tastes so good.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's like a nice sourdough.
So look, these are pretty well produced naturally. They get a lot of bad raps. There's a lot of people that just hate on sugar alcohols. Like, so how and why are we putting them in products?
Well, look, I think anytime something isn't perceived as being natural, you're going to get a certain subset of people who are crying, it's not good for us. Sugar alcohols have actually been used in food processing since 1920s. So it's got a long history. That's like 100 years, actually.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's coming up to its 200th birthday.
Wow.
100th birthday. Can't count.
You're a good dietitian though, don't worry.
Yeah, still got this. We've still got this. But basically, I think the perception that it's a processed component of a diet, some people get a little bit worried about that stuff. But when you looked at it, some of the sugar alcohols are actually naturally produced. Look, it's a good tool to have in the toolkit for people who are looking to reduce the sugar intake, who are looking to reduce the glycemic index of their diet, especially for that diabetic population. But it is being
still
regarded
want taste
as,
and flavour and treat.
Yeah, 100%. So it's still regarded as perfectly safe, and there's been no evidence to the contrary of that over the last 100 years. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good record.
So what's hydrogenating sugars mean?
It's a chemical reaction which just changes the molecular structure of the sugar.
Yep.
And that sort of gives it the alcohol, the ol aspect of that. Yeah.
So look, I know why we use them in BSE products, because we want to make a product that's low carb.
Yep.
From a dietitian's point of view, why would you see brands and this being used by people in the marketplace?
Well, I think it comes back down to that reduction in calorie content, reduction in glycemic index of a product for the sort of population of people who are conscious about those things and are looking for a substitute without going completely without, which I think is perfectly valid, in a number of scenarios. Rather than trying to deprive, maybe we could find a healthy swap or a difference, like a slightly...
Keep life fun.
Yeah, keep it fun. And I know a lot of people will sort of turn to those products. Again, look, everything in excess is not going to be great for us.
Oh, exactly.
And we've sort of harped on about...
I ate 12 apples the other day. I felt like shit.
I've actually asked people whether they could binge on apples, and I've not had...
Can't. You get to a point where you can't take another bite.
You have two and it's like, it's
tried.
not fun anymore.
I want to do a podcast on it. It wasn't good.
Ooh,
Yeah.
12 apples. All right, challenge. Throw down.
They weren't green though, they were reds. So let's get back to the people who will care, the people that are tracking macros.
Yeah, okay,
How do we address sugar alcohols in flexible dieting? Because there's a lot of misconceptions about calories and that. I know when we do our nutritional panels, the calories are included in the product based on those ingredients. We don't go, well, no calories, jog on. our macros are correct on our label.
Yep, 100%.
Obviously, that's not what everyone's doing because we get a lot of flack and a lot of people coming saying that doesn't have this and that doesn't have that. I'm tracking my macros. And
Yep.
they're very busy people who track their macros seriously.
Very, very busy.
Very busy.
And their handbags must be very heavy as well, because I find every time I carry my scales around, it's very cumbersome.
Wow, that's a dietitian having a crack at macros there.
I am not. I'm very, very welcoming of all types. But what we need to look at
You're actually
is...
a fan of macros, though, aren't you?
Oh, I think
Yeah,
they're really
exactly.
useful.
Yeah.
They're 100% useful. I think they're like, I use them for myself when I'm cutting weight because I know how to use them properly and it gives me a framework.
And anyone who wants to hate on what she just said, don't contact us. It's Athletic Eating on Insta.
Yep.
DM
to
her
be
all day.
trolled.
She loves DMs. What's your email too if people want to go to your website and stuff while we got you?
So it's harrietwalker.com.au or athletikeating.com.au. But they're linked.
They're
so
linked?
You get to
Nice.
the same place. But
So back to tracking macros.
Yeah,
Where are we at?
100%. So, look, I think the confusion definitely comes from more of the American products because their requirements for labelling of sugar alcohols is slightly different to Australia. But in Australia, where sugar alcohols are used in like a large quantity, they are actually listed.
Yep.
So you can very easily sort of make the
Off the top of my head, I think it's above 5 grams.
above 5 grams.
Yeah, I'm guessing that. I haven't done a bar for a while, but yeah.
Yep. So what we're looking at is knowing how many calories are in each macronutrient and then again timesing it out. So we know that in fibre, actually, that does give us a certain calorie count. So generally speaking, it's going to be 2 grams, 2 calories per gram. And the same as we discussed before, the various sugar alcohols do have various different calorie contents.
Yep.
So maltitol has 3 calories per gram, whereas erythritol has close to 0. So it's knowing how many calories are in each of the different types of sugar alcohols. So you can, when you're counting macros, you look at the nutrition information panel, look at the protein, times that by 4, look at the carbohydrates, grams, times that by 4, look at the fats, times that by 9. And then once you get to the sugar alcohols, you can look up which specific sugar alcohol is being used, and then times that out. So it might be 2, might be 3, depending on the different type of sugar alcohol that you were using.
Yeah. Have we got something we can put at the bottom of this podcast that people could look into for that?
Yeah, 100%. I've got a little table with the calorie content of the sugar alcohols, and I've actually done an article for you guys. So,
Well, jump on the bodyscience website, look up articles, sugar alcohols.
yep, and that's got all of those details in there.
The link's at the
actually.
top of the website. You don't have to dig deep if you're lazy. Okay, that's enough good talking about macros. Let's get into the real diets. Keto.
Your favourite.
I love a good steak. Yeah,
Who doesn't love a good steak? But is it a steak without chips, Greg?
I did have chips last
Really?
night. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
see,
know.
where's the fun?
I had to go run this morning. I felt guilty.
Oh, you shouldn't
See
feel
that?
guilty.
I know. That's what dietitians tell me. Don't feel guilty about what you do. I just,
Just jog on.
yeah, nice.
But when we're looking at ketogenic diet, where do sugar alcohols fit? I think they fit in there somewhere.
Yep.
Probably more of the sugar alcohols that don't have the glycemic impact and the lower calorie content. So that would be looking at your erythritol gig there. So classically, a ketogenic diet, we're consuming over 80% of our calories coming from fats.
Yeah, around that.
And then generally speaking, we're looking at less than 50 grams of carbohydrates per day. And a lot of the time that's
generally
coming...
lower.
Generally lower. 20?
Lower. I'm a 20 man, yeah.
20, man. Whoa.
Not that I'm counting, I'm just
That
looking.
is hardcore. Are there vegetables in that?
Yeah.
You know how I feel.
Yeah, there's definitely greens hit the plate.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. But what we're looking at is, so it's a 20 to 50 gram. Again, it depends on how active you are. Somebody who's following a ketogenic diet who's slightly more active might have a higher carb budget.
Absolutely.
But still low. It's
Yep.
still low. We want to be producing the ketones low enough to be producing ketones. So when it comes to the carbohydrate budget that you have following a ketogenic diet, if you so choose to use sugar alcohols as a part of that, it could be a useful tool. Obviously, you're not going to be having large amounts of it for the aforementioned side effects, but it might be something that people use as a part of a ketogenic diet, especially probably the erythritol sweetener, as it doesn't have the glycemic index or the calorie content.
Yep. Nice. So depending on your daily intake of protein and carbs, you can use bars and balls and snacks in your dieting. It just comes down to what you're doing in your day.
Yeah, 100%. So With keto, what we also have to keep in mind is it's a high-fat diet.
Yep.
There is a certain budget for protein, but we can use protein, the amino acids from protein, to make glucose as well. So, many a person has stuffed up their keto diet by having large chunks of protein.
Yep.
Because it does still have that impact on production of glucose. So, you have to keep that in mind when you're using things like the low carb bars, because they've got 20 grams of protein in there. As long as you're aware and you're factoring that stuff in, fine. But it's the keto diet. It's what you get.
Yep. What about when you're fasting? If you take a product that's got one of these sugar alcohols in it, are you still fasting?
Oh, it depends how much of a purist you are.
Yeah.
Look, I think the general consensus is that any time that you put something in the system that might cause an effect, you are breaking the fast. However, you might get some keto hackers, some fasting hackers who might suggest that if it's not playing an impact on blood sugar levels, if it's non-caloric, then perhaps it isn't breaking the fast.
So those people that are throwing in their coffee in the morning who believe they can have a coffee when they're fasting.
Yes.
So we're already at that level.
We're at the keto, the fasting hackers.
Keep knocking on the door. It's all good.
Look, if it's, it would depend. I would say probably it would depend on the type of sugar alcohol that's being used. Erythritol, I would dare say, because of the GI of 1 and the very, very low caloric value, that might be something that gets under the radar.
Well, most of them are 1, 2, 3, or 4. So you're not really digging very deep.
No,
there, are you?
no, you're not having a massive impact on your blood sugar levels. But
so let's talk about it. What do they do to our blood sugar levels?
Well, again, looking at the GI of each one of them, that's probably what we're using as an indicator for each one. So
let's start with sugar. So Harry, what's the GI of sugar?
So GI is a disaccharide. So it's got a slightly lower GI. I think it was around the 68. So white bread is a reference for GI. And then the different sugars have slightly different GIs accordingly.
So sugar's 68, you just said.
So glucose is a disaccharide.
Yep.
Glucose, which is a monosaccharide, so it's the purest form, is a GI of 100.
100.
Sucrose is
which is sugar
lower. Yep. So it's a 60. I think it was 68.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think the brown sugar that you were asking earlier would have a fairly similar GI to that as well.
Do you know what is the difference between brown sugar and white sugar?
It's the presence of molasses. So
molasses.
It's slightly unrefined. It goes the next step, and it goes to white sugar. They take that component out.
So taking the molasses out increases the GI.
No, I think there would be very similar GIs.
Okay.
I think they would be.
It's an interesting world, isn't it? Do you guys talk GI much anymore?
It's relevant.
It's
still relevant. It's just it's a way of measuring, but I suppose it doesn't take into the fact that watermelon's high GI. And so are we going to say because of that watermelon is not a healthy food to eat? It's 90. I'm
going to say shit can it.
Sorry?
I'm going to say go on.
Well, so, it's 90.
Hey, if I just ran a marathon, I'd be eating half a watermelon, just so you know.
Yeah, 100%. You'd be making a helmet out of the rest
Exactly, for the party afterwards.
But so GI is a good starting point for something, depending on what you're looking at. But we still haven't taken into the fact that there's other nutrients in foods beyond just their glycemic index. Perfectly healthy foods that have been given a high GI shouldn't be chopped off. And then the same token, like chocolate milk is low GI because of the fat content. Does that make it a health food? No. So we have to nuance the recommendations around GI, I think.
Confusing, isn't it?
It's so confusing.
While we're confused, I just want to ask you about maltodextrin. I mean, it's put on a lot of label. I know there's got nothing to do with sugar alcohols, but if you don't want to put sugar in your product, I say don't put it in.
Yep.
A lot of people put maltodextrin in their nutritionals and say no added sugar. I'm going bullshit call on that, just so you know. That's my personal opinion.
I haven't actually looked. So maltodextrin, I think, has got a GI. I think it was around the 85.
Yeah.
Might be slightly higher. But it's a polysaccharide, so it's a more complex carbohydrate.
Yeah.
So I suppose technically speaking, off the top of my head, it might be because of the complex structure, it is classified as a carbohydrate rather than a simple sugar. And therefore, if it's no added sugar, technically that is correct. Is it still creating insulin response? Yes, it is.
You see a lot of weight gainers. Why do people add it to weight gainers, do you think? I know what we do. I want to hear what you say.
I would say it would be the calorie content plus the insulin response plus in the post-training period for recovery. Why do you use it in a weight gainer?
We don't do a weight gainer.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think I use it in any products at the moment. In the old days, we used to put it in there because it's cheap.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You know,
I think
people wanted calories and it
I think
tasted
it's quite
good.
cheap.
Yeah,
I think it's quite cheap calories.
Yeah.
I think that's why it was in there.
Yeah. So it's a lot of weight gainers. And I'm not saying cheap's bad. I'm just saying it's, when you're making a product and it tastes good and the calories are there, well, it's not a bad thing. It's just what it is.
Happy days.
Yeah, let's get back to our sugar alcohols. Do I need to worry about sugar alcohols?
No. Look, I think as we said before.
Am I going to have a bar today and die of cancer tomorrow?
Certainly not, Craig.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a good
fingers
start.
crossed, but
Am I going to have a bar today and have a heart attack tomorrow?
caused by the bar? Probably not.
Okay.
No.
Am I going to have a bar today and be kicked out of keto?
Ooh.
Oh, see, that's where we need to get this right.
Possibly.
Possibly?
Yes.
Yep.
It depends. I mean, what have you eaten today? That would be the context. We have to know what's your calorie budget, what's your carb budget, what's your protein budget, how are you structuring your ketogenic diet, and is the bar factored in? If so, great. You're probably not going to get kicked out of keto because it will come under your budget.
Yep.
But if you're over your calorie, your carb budget, your protein budget, the potential is that, yes, it will kick you out of ketosis.
Yeah, okay, nice.
You just have to be smart about it. If you so choose to use the bar as something that you want to enjoy, then happy days. It's going to be less sugar than a chocolate bar, but probably give you the same sensory experience minus the calories. But yeah, it's just about what you choose to use in your ketogenic diet.
Yeah, because a lot of people call them clean treats.
Clean treats.
Yeah, so maybe we should let's talk clean. Are they safe? And now, I just want to disclaim this. I know you're a dietitian. You're going to say, and you're a registered dietitian, a registered sports dietitian, so you have to call the party line. I get that. To all your dietitians out there, keep the job. We love what you're doing. But let's be honest. When I talk to Macca about artificial sweeteners, he goes, bullshit call. He's done his Mythbusters. He goes, the research was so tainted towards anything would have died that took those levels.
Yeah.
Now, everyone's giving them a bad rap. He's going, until someone shows me some research that actually proves that it's a bad rap.
Yeah.
So I think it was like 25% of the weight of the animal was
Yeah,
the
when
mice
you
was
look
used
at-
on the artificial sweetener. So let's talk about these. Are these safe?
Yeah, like I said, they've been used since like 1920 in foods. They're naturally occurring in some foods. So that's a good indication that, they're going to be safe for human consumption. We've got 100 years of data on that and nothing sticking out. I think the people who probably might have a problem with it is somebody who prefers to have natural.
Yeah, and we all should. I agree.
products
We
in
all
their
should
diet.
use. Yeah, exactly.
But, as a general consensus, they are safe for human consumption and they have been used in the food industry for a really long time.
Just be aware how much you are having.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
excessive consumption may cause laxative effect.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, I might leave that at that. That's pretty well covered where we are on our stance on sugar alcohols. Look, if we're going to do low-carb bars, low-carb products, just like all the other major brands, we're going to use them.
Yeah,
If you don't like them, eat a clean bar. Doesn't have any.
absolutely.
You know.
8 ingredients.
But then again, your carbohydrate macros are up.
100%. But if that's not a problem for you, go for it.
Go for it, exactly. Each to their own.
Yep. So we've got a
Here's a good piece of advice. If you don't like sugar alcohols, don't eat them.
whoa, mind blown. So we've got a great article up on the bodyscience website covering all that we have discussed today. So if you want to read through that, check out the link.
She says it's great because she wrote it.
Biased, but self-promotion. Hashtag. Targeting. Booty pop.
Okay, Harriet, thanks so much for coming on. That's a big topic. A lot of people dodge it. They don't want to talk about it. I don't think sugar alcohol is bad. It comes down to what you want to do. Yes.
Knowledge is power, Greg.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't like it, don't do it, but at least be educated in your decisions.
Yep.
That's my hot tip for the day.
And if you eat too much of it, contact Harriet.
Please don't contact me. I don't want to know.
Uh-oh, fart. Today's podcast was brought to you by our partners in Fit, Happy and Healthy, ASN, Nutrition Warehouse, DY Discount Vitamins, Fat Burners Only, Evelyn Faye, Mr. Supplement, or find a retailer online at bodyscience.com.au/retailers.